Toyota in the US released their June sales and the first half of 2024. And we know that the Prius is on a recall and it's actually not selling. And we have the Grand Highlander and the TX also on a hold. What does that mean and how does that impact Toyota sales? Let's get to it. Hey, it's LSFT here today, and today we're here to look at the Toyota US sales for June and the first half of 2024 sales results. And here we have the press release. We'll go through it, go back to my spreadsheet, and really look at the Lexus models and how do they work out. Because you know, the Grand Highlander, the TX, the Prius, they're all being held on sales. You can see that there's so many recalls. How does that impact Toyota sales? We'll see here. So let's look down here. So they're saying that 454,000 electrified vehicles sold in the first half of 2024. And that's about 38.3% of the total sales. A little bit disappointed. I would say if it's 40-ish, it would be better, or even 50, I would say that is where I think total sales volume would make more sense in the world of electrification. They say that there's 29 electrified vehicles from Toyota and Lexus options available, and it's the most among any automaker in the industry. And Toyota remains number one in retail brand and sales for the first half. Lexus also records its best ever first half sales in the 35-year history the brand ever exists. So which means it seems extremely good news, right? Everything seems to be very positive. So let's continue down. So what they're saying is, in June, Toyota sold 193,120 vehicles, and that's down 1.2%. So it's not as good as last year. And they're saying that the electrified vehicle sales, 84,781, and that's up 64.5% based on comparison to last year. And that's about 43.9%. So I think that is a better number to say than 38.3. But again, that's just for 1 month. But for the first half, it's 38.3. So continue down here, second quarter sales, 621,549, and that's up 9.2%. Again, positive numbers here. Second quarter is 63.1%, and it's up for electrified vehicles, and 39.8% for total sales in the second quarter. And then when we combine first and second quarter, so the first half, they're talking about 1.186 million vehicles, 14.3% up. And when we look at electrified, 454,000, and that's 68% up from last year. And that represents 38% of total sales for the first half of the year. So then Toyota division posted 4,777 vehicles, and that's down 2.3%. So Toyota is down for June. And then for the second quarter, it's 532,000, and that's up 9.2%, which is good. And the first half, it's over 1 million vehicles, and that's up 14.7%, almost 15%. So Toyota seems to be doing good for when you look at the half-year mark. For June, it's down a little, but for the second quarter, they're still doing quite well. I'm not sure about the third quarter because when you have stop sales for certain brands, certain models, that could hurt a bit as well. But we'll see. So Lexus division, June, it's up 5.9%, so 28,343. And the second quarter, it's 88,740, and that's up 9.3%. And for the first half, it's 167,211, and that's up almost 12%. So we'll look at that a little bit more and go back in history and see what years are close. But I think at this point, this does look like, as I said, it's the best first half of the 35 history that Lexus ever existed. Best ever month, June sales, BZ4X, the GR86, the Camry Hybrid, well they only have a hybrid, Corolla Hybrid, Crown, Corolla Cross Hybrid, Grand Highlander Hybrid, the Sequoia, and Tundra Hybrid. So interesting, Grand Highlander was on stop sale, but it's probably closer to the end of the month. So I think it's a good month, but next month it could be zero or it could be very low. And the best first half, again, Grand Highlander never existed before, but we do have the RAV4 hybrid, and the RAV4 Prime plug-in hybrid. So good, meaning they're selling more plug-in hybrids now, and we'll try to look at that again a little bit more when we look at more details in the numbers. So the Lexus division, best ever first half sales. June is up 5.9%. We talked about the quarters. Okay, so the best ever June, we have the ES hybrid, NX hybrid, NX plug-in hybrid, RX hybrid, RX plug-in hybrid. So you can see here a lot of the hybrids and plug-in hybrids are doing very well. And also total electrified vehicles for June and total luxury SUVs are the best sales for June. RZ, well, RZ is also whatever. Total of the TX, so the gas hybrid and plug-in hybrid, it's the best. Again, they never sold it last year. And then we look at the first half, total vehicles sold, total electrified, total SUVs. The total NX is the best ever for the first half. RX hybrid, plug-in hybrid, the RZ and the TX. So again, all these are like RZ and TX, they're new. They don't have a reference for last year, so it really doesn't matter. But the good thing is the RX hybrid and the plug-in hybrid are the best. But again, same thing with the plug-in hybrid for RX. They never sold one previous year anyways. But it does look like there is a shift to the hybrids, which is a good sign. But unfortunately, the RX gas only didn't beat any records here. So that's all we have on the press release. Let's go into the chart and really look into a little bit more detail on the sales numbers. All right, so I'm not going to go through this like every single one, but I'm just going to go through a few here. So you can see the Mirai, they sold 20 in June and they sold 245 in the year to date. Last year was 1,722, so they're down quite a bunch here. And when you look at the Prius, they only sold 13 in June. So we all know that the Prius had a recall on the door latches, and it's a safety recall, so they did do a stop sale in the US. So production has been put on hold, and that is why the sales numbers are so low. But for the year to date, they're still doing well, 15,000 versus 14,000 last year. But next month, they probably can't hold it anymore, and we'll have to see how that will shake up. There has been reports that production in Japan for the Prius has restarted last month, and new units should be arriving in the United States later in July and into August. So we should see some numbers in July, but more in August. For the Camry, they're still doing good this year. You can still see that they're selling more than last year, so it still seems to be doing well. The Corolla's doing very well as well. Okay, IS and all that, Lexus, I'll move over to my spreadsheet instead so that we can see a better picture. The BZ4X, we're seeing here, they sold 9,468 for the first half, so much better than last year's 3,000-ish. So the EVs are selling better as well, but not in the volume that you probably would expect. RAV4, extremely well, 248,000 for the first half of the year, compared to 187. So very likely that the RAV4 will be the best selling SUV non-truck vehicle in the US again this year. Numbers do show very well here. We look at here also the Grand Highlander. They did sell 6,542, so definitely a good month for the Grand Highlander. But then when you look at it, 55,000 for the year already, and they sold 159 last year, so they'll break every single record you can ever think of. So I don't think this is a problem at all, but stop sale has happened. So numbers, this should have been a higher number, but I would say we'll have to wait and see how this all turns out, because at this point, it does look like the numbers will start dropping next month. And then when you look at the Tundra, so the Tundra also is in, I would say, in deep trouble, but they still sold 13,000 this month. So in June, they sold 13,000. They sold 78,000 for the first half of the year compared to 60,000 last year. So they're still up. I think they can afford a month or two more, but they really have to fix the problem with the engines and all that. But I'm assuming that they fixed it, and the new Tundras that come out are fixed already. I'm going to skip the Lexus SUVs, and I'm just going to go here and look at the RAV4 Prime and the Prius Prime. So you can see the Prius Prime, 7 sold. Again, stop sale, really causing a problem here. And then we have the, let's see, the RAV4 Prime, 2,883. Compared last year, 1,139. So they've essentially doubled, more than doubled. And they sold 17,000 compared to 10,000 last year in the first half. So plug-in hybrids are definitely selling more now, which is good news, but I think some people who are waiting on the wait list will want to see this number even higher. Hopefully that will happen very soon. All right, let's see what else we have here. We'll talk about the rest of the Lexus vehicles in my other spreadsheet. Follow me on Instagram at LSFT Videos. You can see updates on my experience with the NX 450h Plus, which may not be shown on any future videos. You can reach out to me via direct messaging if you have any questions on your Lexus. If you like this video, you can provide me feedback in the comments below, like this video, share it with your friends. This definitely will help with the YouTube algorithms. Press the subscribe button and bell icon and get notified when new videos show up. And lastly, if you want to support me further, you can provide me a super thanks, or visit my Amazon storefront before you purchase anything from Amazon, or you can purchase products from the list on the items that I've been using with my vehicle or at home at no extra cost to you. And now let's continue with the video. Alright, so now we're at the Lexus US sales chart, and we'll start with the UX. So UX, you can see that 718 units in June, and that's down almost 30% for June. That's a lot. And year to date, it's down 21%. So definitely not good for the UX, even with the UX 300H, a brand new 5th generation hybrid system, still doesn't help it moving it forward. That's quite unfortunate. They may need to do a complete refresh on this model in order to really get the sales up to back to like what it was in 2019. So IS 1,561 for June, then that's down 15% from last year, and it's down almost 9% for the first half year. So 10,000 units, 22 last year, so looking at it, 20,000. Hopefully, latter half of the year, it'll start pushing higher, and maybe we'll see a little bit of a difference. Moving down to the ES, 3,546, so it's up 2% compared to last year, but if you look at it, it's just normal cycles, I would say. And when you look at it, first 6 months, it's 1.2%, so it's barely increased, but good enough. So 19,558 for the first 6 months. And when you do that number, it's about 40,000. So very close to what it is from last year and normal course of sedans. We move over to the NX, 6,784 for June. That's down 2% from last year, but you keep in mind, last year was an extremely good year because you look at previous years, it's actually 6,784 is nothing to be ashamed about. It's actually very good. And when you look at it, it's up 1.8% for the first half of the year. So 34,000. So if you look at that and double it, you're looking at almost 70,000. So still very good, extremely good numbers. Because if you look at it, 58, 50, 49, and we'll look at the NX numbers later on since the first generation and see if we're getting anywhere close. We look at the RX, 9,576, it's down 2.47%. Looking at these numbers, it's again nothing to be ashamed about. It's still good numbers. It's down 4.21% compared to last year. 54,955, so you've doubled that, it's about 110,000. So still very close to the normal RX numbers. So still seems to be a good year for the RX as well. We look at the LS, 144, so 1,214. And when you look at it, compared to last year, is actually they sold 1,214. And if you look at that double, 2,400, so very close to those numbers as well. One thing to make note, these numbers were captured last year, but I've noticed in the Toyota release, they actually had a little bit less. So there was an increase on their chart, but I really don't know what has changed to actually get the numbers to be a little bit different. Now we move over to the LC, another low selling volume car, 966. That's up 2.27% compared to last year, really 3 extra units. But for the first half of the year, it's up 17%. Not bad at all. And if they remain the same, they're talking about almost 1800, 1900. So not too bad as well. So we move over to the GX, 1668. So 9,141, extremely less than last year. If you double that, that's only 18,000. So I don't know when the GX will actually have production ramped up. It's down 31% at this point. And when you look at the year to date, it's down 31% as well. So not a good sign for the new GX. I don't know if people just don't like the new GX or they're still in line waiting for the GX. So there seems to be a production delay here, or they're just waiting for things to ramp up and get shipped to America. LX, it's a good month for LX, 519. So it's the best of the past 6 years here. And it's up 5.27%, 3,315 for the first half of the year. And that's still down 3.8% because you can see that in March, April, May, they've gone down. But June, they did do better than last year as well. So I don't think that they'll reach the last year's breaking numbers, but definitely it's close. They've already reached the previous few years very close. So LX is still doing quite well. We look at the RC, another low selling volume. We're looking at 941 for the first 6 months, 145 for June, and it's down 12% for June. But for the first half of the year, it's up almost 12%. Not bad at all. Now we look at the RZ. So RZ has been breaking months, like sales records every month. So it's up 400%. So June is up 333% as well. So definitely they're going to see good numbers, and probably until November, December, where you'll start seeing a flat. But good thing is it took half a year to actually get the number, more than the number that they sold last year. So the EVs are going much higher, which is good, and we'll be seeing them selling more. But I think with the RZ300E, that one with better range, more efficient, that one probably could be a better sale as well. People who don't need a 4-wheel drive electric vehicle, that probably would be a good option. And then last but not least, the TX, the one that has the recall and stop sale. So definitely you see that I've highlighted in red because 2,357. If there was no stop sell, they probably would have been more, probably 3,000, 4,000 numbers. It's been a good year for the TX, 21,000 sold already. And even last month I said, oh, they're getting very close to the NX. But now because it's gone down and there's a stop sell, probably the TX will not overtake the NX this year. So it is what it is. We'll have to see. July, is the numbers going to be very low, and then August, don't know how long this stop sale is going to be, and then September, hopefully it resumes, and then we'll see the numbers coming back up. But we'll see. It is Lexus and Toyota's interest to actually get this resolved so that they can have the Grand Highlander and the TX selling again, because those are hot numbers, hot cars, and these numbers do make a big difference, especially for Lexus because of the models that they own. The TX and the RZ are the ones that add addition to, especially the TX, adds addition to their full portfolio and getting their numbers higher year over year. So, sales numbers. So as part of the press release, they said it's the best half of the year, right? So looking at since 2005, if we look at these numbers here, the closest that we have was 2007 at 161,000 units. 167,000 units is definitely the best first half ever in 35-year history. 2007 was close, but it's better overall. And that's why the TX and RZ is critical for Lexus, because that will bring the numbers higher, and without those models, you won't see 167. Great numbers. Last year was actually a good year as well for 320,000, and at 344,000 where I've seen the record is 158. So they're at 167, so definitely there is a chance to see a very good year for Lexus. Will they break the 344,000 record? I think they can. It just depends on the TX, because every month a reduction for the TX, it would mean that they're losing out on these numbers. All right, so let's continue down. So the NX, you can see that 6,784 for June. Definitely, it's the second best of the whole lifeline of the NX. So definitely good numbers to see. Not breaking numbers, but good enough. And I will hopefully July, August, we're going to see some similar numbers. And if we do, it's going to be a good year for NX as well. So now, looking at electrified. So with the charts, with the numbers, now we are able to see how much plug-in hybrids. So 3,135 plug-in hybrids were sold this year. So if we look at last year to 2023, 2,298. So we definitely can see that almost 1,000 extra 450h pluses were sold. And then look at 2022, the year when I got my NX, it's 1,716. So definitely, it's almost doubled the number of vehicles delivered for 2024 already. So it's good news, so which means we can probably see about 6,000-ish units, and it's actually not bad. Hopefully more, because then wait lists will be reduced, and hopefully Canada's wait list will be reduced as well. So with all that, we also have the hybrid. Hybrid is 13,000. And if we look at last year, this is 7,000, 7,200, 7,300 units. So definitely selling a lot more hybrids this year. And compared to 2022, 4,900, they're definitely selling a lot more hybrids. So 350h vehicles, a lot more on the road. And then when we look at the breakdown, so 2023, gas only was 72%, hybrid were 22%, and the plug-in hybrid was 6.75%. So now for the first half, we're looking at 53% on gas, which is much less, and then 38% on the hybrids and almost 9% on the plug-in hybrids. So definitely much better numbers, especially in the electrified world. We do the same for the RX. The RX plug-in hybrid, they sold 1,789 for the first 6 months. So compared to last year, they only sold it for 3 months, probably, or even 2. So we can't compare, but starting to be good. So then we look at the RX hybrid, 20,000 units. So compared to last year, the first 6 months, 18,000. So definitely 2,000 more units. And when we look at that, we probably will hit 40,000 units for the RX 350h. Not bad as well. Breakdown, if we look at it, 2023, 68% gas and 32% hybrid. Now looking at it, the gas is reducing. It's at 60% now. 37% for the hybrid and only 3% for the plug-in hybrid. So definitely you can see that there's a big gap here. And then when you look at the TX, so the TX hybrid 3,500, so they already sold more than last year, but again, they probably started like 3 months, so can't compare, but doing better. And then the plug-in hybrid, the 550h plus, 380 units for the year. So when you look at that, still 82% is gas, 16% is hybrid, and 1.78% that is plug-in hybrid. So slowly ramping up, but definitely still not enough TXs on the road for the plug-in hybrid. So there we have it, the breakdown, and definitely good numbers to see. And I'm hoping that the plug-in hybrid numbers will increase to like 15%, and I think that is where it's a sweet spot. And hopefully gas vehicles will start going lower and hybrids will be going higher. All right, so now we move over to Canada. So this one's going to be a quick one because they don't break down by model, so it's very hard to understand, but here it is. So Lexus division saw Q2 sales of 8,433, and that's down 6.2% compared to last year. So again, I think 2023 was a year where it was catching up on the Q, and that's why 2024 we'll probably see numbers going down and not go up. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. And June sales, if we look at Lexus, they saw 3,006 units, and it's up 3%. So that's actually in reverse. So they saw a 3% increase, which means they matched last year's numbers. Not a bad thing to say as well. So I'm going to go over to the spreadsheet later on and show you those numbers. But let's see what else there is. So electrified sales, they're saying that 40% for Toyota Canada and 44.2% of overall sales. And then we look at the Toyota division, they're saying that the first quarter two is 38.8, and for June it's 43.5 for electrified sales. Lexus, on the other hand, is 48.7 for Q2 and 48.2 for June. So Lexus has more electrified options. And you look at, there's a 4,968 zero emission vehicles, so which means it includes the BZ4X, the RAV4 Prime, and the LexusNX 450h Plus. So then, and also I think the Prius Prime, whatever vehicles there are. So up 23.2% compared to Q2 last year. And they've set records. So again, this is important, that they've set records Q2 for the BZ4X, RAV4 Prime, and the NX 450h Plus. I mean, they've sold more of these plug-in hybrids or BEVs compared to last year. So good news, meaning who's ever waiting for the 450h Plus, hopefully there's more delivered, meaning the wait times are a little bit lower, but I think it's still long. All right, so now we're at the Lexus Canada spreadsheet. Again, I have no information for 2024 and model breakdown yet. It's unfortunate, but only thing I have is really the total year sales here. So when you look at it, 3,006 compared to last year, it's not a bad month at all. It was really last month, May was actually, it hurt a lot because it was down 500. But overall, I think it's still not a bad year, but not as good as last year. Will it break the record? I don't think so. 31,000 is actually hard to achieve. If we look at it, look at the first 6 months last year, it's 16,245. So it's down roughly 1,000-ish. So if we look at it, I'm hoping that this year they'll break the 30,000 mark, and probably I don't see it breaking the record for the year. We'll have to see how things go, but at this point, this is what I see. I think 30,000 is a sweet spot for Lexus Canada. I hope that you found that this video was informative, and until next video, drive safely. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, please comment, like, share this video, and if you want to see more videos like this, you can subscribe to my channel and press that bell icon to get notified when new videos are posted. And if you'd like to support this channel, you can provide me a super thanks. And until next time, cheers.